Hello, every folks, and good spooky morning to ya. Today, we're going to be starting with the first of several kind of spookier Halloween-themed classes for Tactics Ogre 1 Vision. So welcome to another edition of Know Your Unit. It's, I guess, Spooky Rotten Fried Chicken edition. Today, starting with the Necromancer. Alright, so, what is the deal with the Necromancer? Well, as always, they are the undead commander. However, this time around, you might notice they're actually a bit of the mind specialist, which they've always been. They've got some dexterity going on there. What's the deal with that? Well, we'll get to that in just a second, but as far as their innate built-in stuff goes, know that they are able to curse people from a distance with their ranged attack. Now, let's go ahead and move on to actually discussing the class itself. First and foremost, I just want to mention that this is a class that you can get right away in One Vision, one that you can classically get right by going to Rob Nibeth right at the very start of the game. So yeah, not exactly easy to do, but it is a trick that you can pull off with relative ease, courtesy of Sarah. So actually I forgot to mention this back in the Rogue episode, but Sarah actually comes in as a rogue, and so as a result, you're actually able to have access to steal right away, meaning that you can go up to Nibeth and just go and pickpocket the Necromancer mark off him. It's usually going to be the first thing that gets stolen, and additionally, it's worth noting that steal doesn't check elevation, so you can just gladly sit on the bottom of the stairs, climb on up there, and just grab it straight off him. You don't actually have to be that close. Now, with that said, why do we care about the Necromancer? Because the Necromancer is our best buddy, and also, with Donalto kind of looking like the Undertaker these days, it just kind of feels fitting to put it on him. Now, the Necromancer is a bit of the same old that they've had before with the undead magic and the dark magic and all that kind of some suchery. However, you'll notice that they're also a crossbow guy. That seems kind of random. What's the deal with that? Well, the deal is that they're actually able to use physical attacks to some reasonable degree of effectiveness while also having access to a unique finisher. All of this ends up synergizing surprisingly well. So, for example, say you've got a little bit of free TP left over. You've got their Ahriman ability over here in their finishers that's going to be a 20 TP quick little guaranteed snipe with their crossbow. What's interesting is that they actually are able to use their finishers as a way to sort of bypass one of the limitations of one of the weapons that I personally really like using for them, which is going to be the railbow or the railgun or the bolt caster, whatever you want to call this thing. But effectively, your sniper crossbows, which normally are tied for the highest range in the game, but they're limited in terms of being able to only fire in a straight line. In the case of the Necromancer, they're able to say, hold on, I have to actually fire diagonally this time. Let me just go ahead and use my Ahriman ability over there to have the ghosts send the bolts over that way. When you fire it, it's actually an attack that cannot miss, that can also inflict wither. It's not going to be as strong as some of your other attacks, but it's worth noting that it is actually an effective way to train up your Dark Augment when you don't have the MP to cast their other spells. As far as their spells go, Necromancy has seen some changes. It's largely the same list that you saw from before, but the context of everything is different. For example, something like Banish is no longer just a free book. It is something that you actually want to be casting, and it's going to be slightly more expensive than its standard counterpart, meaning that you're usually not going to be using them just for simple free exorcisms all the time, but it is very convenient to have on their spell list. Living Dead is going to bring somebody back to life as a zombie. Curse is going to reset TP in an area, as well as slowing them down, as well as inflicting them with Curse there. Brainwright will get rid of MP in an area and give them Spell Slip and Feeble Mind, while Frenzy will give Quicken to a single undead. Rebuild just allows you to rebuild an undead from scratch, and Life Force does what it always did. Interesting note about this, though, Life Force is actually really intense in terms of its recovery cost. Its recovery time is 60. That's one of the highest recovery time moves in the game, just due to how dang good it is. Now, on top of this, though, let's go over their skills real quick, because this is where things start to take a turn for the weird and interesting. So, as you'd expect, they're going to have Dark Magic and Necromancy. They've got daggers, cudgels, spellbooks, and crossbows. All of these are going to be effective options for them. I personally really like crossbows because of how it synergizes with their other skills, but spellbooks do allow them to potentially have a few more kind of spells up front. Cudgels might allow them to be a bit more of a threat with their direct attacks, and daggers might be better for your accuracy, but let's go ahead and continue on. They've got a lot of augments. Realistically, you care about Augment Dark. Moving on. They've got access to most versions of the different racial effects due to, being a primarily human class, though it is worth noting that you'll notice that there are several that are missing. That's because this class is also now available to, if I can find it here, let me go ahead and double check this list here real quick. So it's available for humans, it's available for Lamia, for ghosts of both varieties. So you're going to be able to use this on a lot of different stuff, and especially the version for ghosts there is worth noting, because it's effectively a unit that is able to use its undead support abilities on themselves. Now, I haven't tested that personally, but that checks out in terms of stuff that would work, and that's pretty neat. I actually had a ghost Necromancer at some point, and I don't know what I did with them. But let's move on here. Okay. So, continuing on down the list here, we've got Clarity and Efficacy at higher ranks than normal, Counter Hit Effect if you prefer to fight, as well as Deflect, no parry though. They do not get any parry, unfortunately. They do get Jump and Wade if you'd like them. Field Alchemy up to a maximum of rank 2 because, Mad Scientist has to have their items. Tactician for boosting their abilities, as well as Reflect Damage, Animate Dead, and Conserve MP. This is an interesting one here with Conserve MP, because you'd expect Animate Dead, but you wouldn't necessarily expect Conserve MP on this list. See, this is one of the reasons that I really love using them with crossbows, especially the sniper crossbows, because it means that they can snipe at a really long distance, and then just immediately turn that around and say, you know what, I feel like just casting for free now. It only costs 30 TP to actually activate, so this means that they can be a very, very good kind of a heavy spell user in this case. So, yeah, personally, I think that's a really solid answer there. And additionally, it's worth noting that Animate Dead only costs 20 TP. This will be relevant in a moment. Next, we've got Shadow Resonance, again for training that Dark Augment, just, good for training up their spells and such, because most of the spells that they have access to are on the kind of more expensive side if we're talking about things that will train. They don't have access to a lot of the standard missile abilities, but they do have a lot of AoEs. Just kind of show this right here. So, for example, they'll have Decays, they'll have the Dark Stars, they'll have the Summons, they'll have the Drain Hearts and stuff. But when it comes to your day-to-days, like your missile moves and such, again, they don't have access to those. Now, continuing on down the list, we've got Opportunist for what it usually does. Trajectory is good for their accuracy, though I will say, personally speaking, I prefer to just use Airman instead of Trajectory on them. Absorb MP, also, it's a good move, just not necessarily for them, because they can already do Conserve MP. But it's there if you want it, your usual selection of wards, and this is where we get to Entomb, Beckon, and Master Undead. Master Undead does what it always does. It just lets them talk to undead stuff. Entomb stills a living ally or undead, and it's worth noting this does not work like the official versions. Rake's actually put a little bit of an exception in there, that the undead, somebody that's entombed here, like it says, stills a living ally or an undead. Now, this is both offensive and defensive. If you have an enemy unit that is, for example, an undead unit, you can use this offensively to put them down to the ground. If you happen to target your own guys, you'll be able to have a pretty much guaranteed shot of putting them down on the ground right then and there. And the thing is, this actually puts them into a shutdown state. So for a living unit, this means that for 40 TP, you can, let's say, take a unit that's completely covered in debuffs, that's got like 5% health left. They are hanging on by a thread. So what you do is you entomb them, which knocks them down to the ground and puts them down at technically 0 HP in a semi-undead state. And that's the important part. They are marked as undead. They will have a return counter. Effectively, you're putting them out of the fight in order to bring them back completely full in just a moment, because you can then use Animate Dead on them to immediately bring them back on their feet. This is the exception that Rake's carved out for this ability, because normally no undead moves work on anyone in a semi-undead state in the official versions. In this version, you can effectively rebuild somebody from scratch as a Necromancer, which is really, really good. It costs a lot at a total of 60 TP and a ton of recovery time, so this is going to put them down a decent bit. So in total, recovery time would take about an extra 30. Funnily enough, that's still only half of what Life Force costs, but whatever. And a total of 60 TP. So this is this is going to be relatively expensive, but it's one of very few instant full heals in the game. So very useful combo right there. And then finally you have Beckon, which sounds a death knell for the target, doubling any injury that it currently suffers. So have you ever wanted a move that just kind of deletes bosses once you're about halfway there? Welcome to your favorite. Anyway, let's go ahead and kind of throw them into a fight here and talk about how they do. Because, yeah, these guys are easily one of my favorites. It's something you can get right away. You actually can pick up several necromancies from the Nibeth fight if you decide to get a little bit more creative with it. So, yeah, gives you a lot of stuff to play around with, and there's a lot of classes that can benefit from being undead. The thing with undead is that they are going to be, I believe, slightly slower than their standard counterparts, but there is a lot of kind of interesting tricks that you can do with undead units. For example, stuff like the Chiron blowgun here. While it will, for example, hit a target for what is technically damage, it can be used to heal an undead unit. So, for example, I have a undead fairy here, whose purpose is to essentially just go and serve as a healer. So he can go ahead and snipe that guy over there, and he's very close to being able to use Conserve MP already, as well as being able to use Animate Dead. The long range on that particular crossbow means he can oftentimes find a target, even if it is a little bit awkward to find exactly the target that you want, which makes it very good for building up TP there. We see that that unit is currently suffering a little bit of damage there, so we'll have him sort that out in a moment. He'll be able to help out in a little bit, but we'll have everyone else kind of move up here to show the effects of some of their abilities and whatnot. Okay, so as far as the Necromancer goes, it's a relatively, I don't want to say speedy class. They're definitely not that fast, but they are somebody that is very useful. Very useful for getting your momentum back. They're one of very few recovery kind of classes that can actually make up for very devastating losses. So, like, normally with the clerics, they're not able to revive. They can just keep people, operating while they're alive. They're doctors. But in the case of something like the Necromancer, they are able to actually do something about it if somebody fully dies. This is where we get to Animate Dead. See, normally Animate Dead would be a problem because, the unit's stuck in an undead state. But if you have access to, let's say, Chapter 4, as well as a few other locations before then, you can very easily just bring your units back as the undead, to bring them back as somebody that can actually do something about their situation. Okay, so let's go ahead and conserve MP over here. We'll just go ahead and throw one of those, and we'll go ahead and throw out a rebuild over on our fairy over here, who took a little bit of damage, and now we've just gone ahead and fully healed them instantly. Very, very useful. And she can go ahead and throw a little bit of a heal over here on our chicken. Can go ahead and heal them with that blow dart over there, and then we'll go ahead and have you go over here and give a little bit of a charmy smooch over here to this one. Unfortunately, it missed, but these things happen every now and then, I suppose. They get to survive one more minute. This guy's hit by a false strike at the moment, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we're not going to be able to shadow break anything. I don't know what I'm trying to do there. I was mixing it up with stagger, dang it. So he's got a fearful impact at this point. We've got our Juggernaut over here, apparently getting themselves got a little bit. It is worth noting that, yeah, Zombie Juggernaut definitely don't do that. I don't really know why I brought the Juggernaut along, because their momentum ability doesn't work when they're zombified. Anyway, though. But yeah, there's a lot of units that can benefit from being zombified, because not only can you revive them right then and there, not only do you suddenly have the ability to fully bring them back, you're also now in a position to actually to kind of go and fix them later on down the line. Alright, so at this point, Mr. Ladislas over here is currently suffering a little bit. Who's the next unit? You're going to be the next unit? Okay, because I want to use him as an example. So we'll go ahead and hit that. We'll go ahead and just kind of block off all available tiles. You want to go ahead and petrify this guy so we can make a good example here, please? Well, you're going to fail your petrification. Fine, whatever. You're going to get Omni-Struck, whatever. Anyway, so he currently does not have he currently doesn't have the points required to go and, let's say, fix this guy completely. So, what we're going to do, we're here, so now we're a few turns later, and we're going to go ahead and bring our fairy back. Got a nice Animate Dead over there, and we want to have more units back as well. We can't just have this one unit, so we're going to go ahead and bring our chicken back as well. And there we go. Now we've got 2 units where there were previously none. This is one of the unique distinctions of this class, in that they are actually able to bring units completely back from the dead. Now, sure, there will be some complications in terms of fully bringing them back later, but for now, that's all we really need, right? And additionally, this means that if, for example, you have a unit, like let's say this guy was injured or something like that, and we wanted to make sure that he got a heal, and we saw that our Necromancer's turn was coming up, we would be able to do something about it. So there's a lot of situations where you really would want to potentially even friendly fire your own guys to give them more of a chance of coming back. So there's so many options that this potentially opens up for you, and it's not actually that difficult to get your units kind of brought back from being a zombie. So this is a very useful tool for saving your team. This is a very useful kind of build that's honestly like a kind of like a cooler version of one of the builds that I was using in Reborn a bunch, which was the sort of Lord kind of Time Lord kind of build there. Because in their particular case, they can also conserve MP, they can also essentially bring people back from the dead repeatedly, and the thing is, you see an actual legit effect on your team as this goes on. I love that feeling of looking over your team and it's like, man, here's this guy that would have bled out, would have had a massive issue a while ago, and now here they're coming back as this completely new thing, you know? It's kind of an interestingly monstrous thing to see your team turn into an absolute abomination. And this is on top of all the other skills that they've got on there too. Whether you wanted your guaranteed crossbow shots, like right now, everyone's having a ton of issues fighting in the rain here. Our accuracy is pretty darn doo-doo, so we're just kind of doing the best we can. A lot of attacks are just missing. You know, we're doing decently well as far as actually connecting them, but still, you know, we're having difficulties landing those shots, and we've always got our guy over here that can simply say, hey, look, you know what, I can take a break from being awesome in all these other ways, and I can, let's say, go ahead over here and just have some ghosts go and bring my bolts over to the target, you know? Or let's say we move over here and we see, okay, let's say Mr. Numlu over here. He's hit by a couple of debuffs, and we want to fix that. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to say, okay, look, we're going to use our primary action to go entomb this guy, and there you go, take a quick little nap. So just entomb, there we go, he is currently stilled, and now we can just go ahead and go over to our skills. We can use our animate dead to then bring him right back, and there we go! Fully healed up unit, cleared of debuffs, full health. Again, probably, ironically, the best healer in the game, so yeah, it's good stuff. And then yeah, you just kind of continue on from there. They are entirely going to be, their effectiveness is going to be entirely based on the rest of your team, obviously. But there's very few teams that you can go wrong slotting in one of these guys. It's just that good of a unit, you know? It's just that good. Probably shouldn't be petrifying my own guys, but it's fine. They're zombies anyway. They don't really care that much. So we'll go ahead and maybe start giving them a little bit more health, maybe, and can continue from there. So yeah, any team can have a nice happy Necromancer there, and then after this we'll talk about how to potentially bring them back another way. It's also worth noting that if at any point you are out of MP, you can always use Conserve MP. You can always go down here to Living Dead, and there we go. Now they're nice and brought back. Additionally, let's say we go ahead and use our Conserve MP over here, and then we decide, you know what, we want to make sure to kind of teleport a guy over to the other end of the map. So Stick Shift gets slept on a bunch, because Stick Shift is freaking amazing. Like, let's say we wanted to make sure that we had, let's say a route blocked off. Like, there was a bridge over here that was one tile wide. We can simply say, okay, put that guy over there, move forward, and then go use Animate Dead on them. Or let's say you needed to save a guy that was trapped in a location that you couldn't quite reach with one of your saving abilities. You could always use it to bring them back. So Stick Shift gets slept on a lot. It really shouldn't be, because it's a very useful tool that we oftentimes forget until after we already needed to use it. So just another one to kind of keep in the old noggin there as you do. And obviously with all of this other craziness around, it's definitely worth noting that that all of these tools are especially going to be useful in a place like Palace of the Dead, where there's not necessarily too many clerics, though there is plenty of other necromancers, so they also can banish just as well. So I guess that's not necessarily great advice. Anyway, I actually was thinking of doing like a Palace of the Dead guide relatively soonish here, but we'll get to that when we get to it. As far as their other abilities, due to their high mind score, they typically will have a pretty good shot of landing a lot of different debuffs whenever you need them, whether they're charms or dead screams or what have you. The thing is, though, unless you build them for spell accuracy, they're not necessarily going to be too great at this. So just kind of understand that yeah, you might be a little bit disappointed by its performance if you decide to go for a crossbow build. So just kind of again throwing it out there, in case you needed to know. And yeah, it's a fantastic class. Honestly, a class that can fully hold up on its own merits just with the stuff that you get in Chapter 1. Normally, you still get them far later, but you can actually still get their Necromancer marks, I believe, from the transcription book, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead and double-check the crafting books real quick, and then we'll go over the One Vision resource to talk about some of this other stuff, because I want to say Ways of the Wild possibly had some stuff for them. Here, let's see. No, that gives us a bunch of the other ones, which we'll cover all of these later, but let's go down to Forgery. I'm pretty sure Forgery has one. Windrider, Necromancer. Yeah, Forgery has the Necromancer marks. And yeah, for those that didn't know, you can use Forgery to get yourself lords and princesses and stuff like that. But that being said, so let's talk builds real quick. So like with my Necromancer right now, I had him running a crossbow build because I personally really like the stuff that doesn't necessarily relate to damage about this class. But if, for example, you wanted to have your kind of classic full mind control type of setup, you always have your spell striking daggers over here, a silence on hit on those as well if you need to. This is especially useful in cases like, let's say you're trying to recruit a ghost to your side. The recruitment fails, so you just go ahead and silence them just for good measure. That combined with a Valkyrie with something like Fated Circle to guarantee that happens is surprisingly useful. As far as shields go, they're somewhat limited, just mostly having regular shields, which is perfectly fine in their hands. As far as their robe axis goes, this is when we mostly talk about the fact that they've just got robes. But for example, most of their slots can be dedicated to just absolutely dumping mind. So like in this case, we've got an extra 20, an extra 9, an extra 8, an extra 21. Like, this dude is absolutely fully ready to absolutely fuck up someone's cranium. So yeah, and that's really useful with let's say, their charms, their shackles, whatever else. They do have a lot of abilities that allow them to bypass the need for mind, though. So for example, Wormhole, while it does typically only hit based off of mind here, there's a lot of targets that can be hit really hard with this, since it's always going to do 10% damage, and will be leadening. This means that it's really useful for things like shutting down golems and whatnot. Typically things like Palsy, Skeen, and Decay are also going to be nice little kind of workarounds here. So in the case of Decay, that's poison plus weaken. It does damage too, but the poison and the weaken is really the big scary thing there, as well as being able to charge somebody. Them charging other people's MP is very useful, especially if you wanted to have the absolute best in terms of... Sorry, that was bizarre. I heard some weird windy sound outside the window. Well, things are getting spooky. Anyway, so if you wanted to have hands down the best support unit for a heretic, the best cheerleader that you could possibly get, give this lady a friggin' pet Necromancer. Being able to conserve as well as charge is a very useful combo in their hands. While the actual charge itself obviously is going to take quite a bit out of them. The fact that she's able to recover both MP and TP in this particular situation, because that's what charge does. It's no longer just MP, it's both MP and TP. By the amount of MP used, it will essentially still save the MP that you're using for this, which, yeah, 10 isn't a lot, but it's still notable in the long run, Oftentimes that 10 MP, again, I know it's minor, but it's just that amount has been enough to then immediately go back into a Decay or a Drain Heart or a Palsy Skeen. Just like, it's usually been enough to still follow it up the next turn, Or you could always have two Necromancers just kind of going and throwing stuff at each other back and forth for a profit. There's also that too. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of that. That's the Necromancer. They got cool tricks, they got cool equipment, they got cool options out the wazoo here. Again, their accuracy is kind of doo-doo. That's why I really like using this railgun combo. Like, long-range snipes, it's not really too big of a deal if they end up missing something, Something like a Bergenette gives them a decent amount of mind while still giving them good accuracy and resistance. Light Shield's basically their only option, and then you go for something like a Magus Robe for resistance and whatnot. But something like this allows them to potentially take those easy snipes for some free TP, use that TP for free MP, and then, just kind of be all tricksy-like from there. So... Either way, that's about that. That is the Necromancer. It's a very, very fun goober of a class. And let's go ahead and look over the One Vision resource to see if I'm missing anything. I don't think I am, but let's see. As far as... Oh yeah, there's actually a couple of spells that I missed in terms of Breed Suspicion, Prodigize, Torment. They can't learn Summon Darkness, but it's on the list anyway. So yeah, those ones... Oh yeah, and Black Plume. I don't think I had Black Plume on him. So the Black Plume is the one that lets you run away. Prodigize, Torment, and Breed Suspicion. One of those is Paranoia. I think one of those is... What's it? The old Ogre armor effect, if I'm not mistaken? But I'm not sure off the top of my head. Those ones are just ones you run into super late game somewhere in Palace of the Dead. But yeah, not seeing anything too crazy as far as cross-classable skills or anything like that. But yeah, pretty much everybody has access to these guys, and they are one hell of a cool class. Alright, so that about sums it up. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and take care. Bye.